Where did my willpower go? Understanding the nature of willpower can help us bolster it. Willpower is the fuel that powers the engine of success. It provides the physical, mental, and emotional strength required to get things done. But what exactly is willpower? Where does it come from? And how can we have more of it? So willpower being the short-term benefit of creating new habits. Self-discipline is also another way of looking at it. Being able to do things we need to do even though we don't feel like doing it. It's not easy, and I'm sure this will touch on these things. To understand the nature of willpower, let's take a step back and discuss three related concepts: goals, behavior, and self-regulation. Goals, broadly, refer to some end result that we would like to achieve. Goals range from very short-term, taking out the garbage, to very long-term, having enough money saved for retirement. Or for us Muslims, Jannah. That's our very long-term goal, or short, Allah knows best. But this is our main ultimate goal. From very specific, for example, paying the bill, to more general, paying bills on time, and from very concrete, picking up after your dog, to more abstract, being a good citizen. Regardless of their size and shape, whether a goal will be accomplished or not depends on one factor: our behavior. Goals represent a perceived discrepancy between our current state, where we are, and a desired state, where we want to be. Current state, the garbage is in the kitchen. Desired state, the garbage is out of the kitchen and in the dumpster. Behavior is what enables us to reduce the discrepancy between current and desired states and to eventually reach our goals. Yeah, all right, let's see what this behavior is. To accomplish any goal, we need to take certain actions and pause other actions. To answer a client call, we need to pause the conversation we may be having with a coworker. To work on the slides for a presentation, we need to stop pacing in the room and sit in front of the computer. You can imagine how complex a sequence of actions need to be initiated, modified, or stopped, especially when we're working towards long-term goals like losing weight. There's that losing weight again. Getting a promotion or starting a business. That brings us to self-regulation. The reason I'm not commenting on this so far is because I want to first see, I think they're going to touch on this, but we'll see. I haven't pre-read this. I see Baumeister here, so it looks like they're going to talk about what I was going to talk about. That brings us to self-regulation. Self-regulation is a complex psychological process whose role is to monitor and modify our actions to align them with the goals we intend to pursue. Bauer and Baumeister describe self-regulation as the capacity to override natural and automatic tendencies, desires, and behaviors. So basically being on autopilot, which is most of us. We go through the day on autopilot, just driven by our habits and addictions. According to the authors, being able to reach goals depends on how well we can manage our behavior by switching from automatic to conscious and from habits to purposeful action. Failures in self-regulation can negatively affect the fate of our goals, small and large. Furthermore, weak self-regulation could create a wide range of pervasive problems, from languishing and underachievement to poor health, financial difficulties, and interpersonal conflict. Yeah, a lot of the self-regulation issues is due to poor health. If we don't have a healthy mind, we can't have the control needed, because life basically, especially as Muslims, our goal is to control our brain as much as possible, not allow our brain to control us. And when I say us, I mean our soul, our spirit. That's our true selves. But without Islam, our souls are just slaves to our brain, slaves to our desires. We can call it desires, and all along we have Shaitan cheerleading along for the brain to control us. So self-regulation is really a life of being in control as much as possible. I mean, we can't be sinless. If we had full control, we'd have no sin. So the goal isn't to be perfectly in control, but to be aware and to be off autopilot and to make conscious decisions that are in our own best interest, religiously, spiritually. In summary, goals are related to behavior, and behavior is related to self-regulation. Behavior is the mechanism we use to achieve our goals, and self-regulation is the ability to monitor, adjust, and direct behavior to the service of the goals. As you can imagine, monitoring our behavior to ensure it aligns with a goal, initiating actions consistent with that goal, and suppressing actions that distract from the goal takes a lot of energy. And I'm sure they may talk about how Baumeister and his experiments show that willpower runs on physical energy, so to speak. And so he was saying that it runs on glucose, but that's obviously if a person's eating a diet that fuels them with glucose, with sugar. So for someone on carnivore, someone eating a high-fat diet, it would run on ketones. And we can see this during the day because a lot of us, if we're trying a new diet or trying to abstain from a bad habit, or if we're trying to keep an addiction under control, it tends to be easier early in the day when there's less cognitive load. But as the day progresses, as we work, as we do things, as we have stress in our life, this physical energy is being depleted, especially if we're eating a carbohydrate diet. If we're eating foods that have our blood sugar fluctuating, or we have crashes, during those crashes, willpower just doesn't have the energy needed to be implemented. And it may also talk about how willpower is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But health is the key. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said there are three things if you have these three things, it's like you have the whole world in your hand. I think there are different narrations of this, but it's Iman and health. And I think there was a third in some translation, or in some narrations, I think there's a third, like peace of mind or safety. But Iman and health, with these two things, all things are possible. And this brings us back to willpower. Willpower is the strength of the self-regulation process. The stronger our willpower, the more capable we are of producing behaviors that serve our goals and reducing behaviors that distract from our goals. Part of this also is being in the now. There's a very good book called The Power of Now, where it just talks about being in the moment, being conscious, even being aware that you're on autopilot is a major step in being present and not being on autopilot. From this perspective, willpower is not an all or nothing privilege, as if you either have it or you don't. The notion that some people have willpower, others don't, is rather simplistic. A better approach is to assume that everyone is equipped with willpower and that the degree of willpower available at a given time depends on the circumstances. Big time. Yeah, there's so many variables in how we can implement willpower. So if we all have it, where does our willpower go when we need it? Based on theories of self-regulation, there are two ways to think about willpower. The first approach is that willpower dwindles with time and effort. Think of it like muscle strength. The more you use it, the less you have available until its levels are restored again. After a strenuous workout, your muscles are weaker and need to rest and recover, which means that you will not be able to prolong the workout or do other things that require muscle strength, like lifting heavy boxes or mowing the lawn safely and easily. Something similar happens with willpower. When it's used up or on earlier tasks, not a lot of it may be available for later tasks. This can also be tied into dopamine. Dopamine is needed to do, especially mental work. And so when it comes to addiction, I think one of the reasons why a lot of people procrastinate on all these things they need to do is just a dopamine deficit. They're in a dopamine deficit because of the addiction. But here, it's given the analogy that willpower is like a muscle. If you use it, you need to let it, rebuild, so to speak. And one good example of wearing out your willpower is if you go grocery shopping or you just go on a day of running errands and getting groceries, or in a store, if you go into a big store like Walmart or something like that, or Target. By the end of it, they have you stand in the checkout line that's full of candy and cheap magazine, tabloids, things like this. Quick, cheap fixes for energy and entertainment. I mean, now people just get on their phone, which may be better to get on your phone if you're in a checkout line than eating, grabbing some sugar, because your body's energy is used up from making 200-300 decisions while shopping. That's why they put the sugar there at the end, because they know you're going to be depleted. SubhanAllah, if you even think Islamically, when we go into the market, we're supposed to lower our gaze. Now, a lot of times we can think, or it could be, to not look at fitna, not look at people, but when this was said to lower our gaze in the marketplace, it couldn't just be about women because the women are covered. So it could be that part of that wisdom is that you're just not eyeballing everything and taking everything in and end up depleting your willpower and end up spending more than you came to spend, or doing things that you didn't intend to do, or, buy things that you didn't intend to buy. This may explain why people are more likely to sit in front of the TV and consume the entire bag of potato chips in the evening at the end of a long day rather than in the morning before starting to do any work. Which I mentioned this is why it's very likely that it does run on physical energy. When we use a substantial amount of willpower to complete goal-related tasks without losing momentum or getting distracted, we'll probably not have enough willpower to keep going. Without enough willpower, we can barely think about goals, let alone initiate goal-relevant actions and suppress intrusive habits. We will opt for the easy alternative. Yeah, I mentioned something in another video where if you're doing deep work or you're doing something like studying or working, if it requires, if you're doing a job that requires a lot of mental energy, don't jump on your phone or scroll or do some type of synthetic dopamine producing activity. That's just going to drain you more and take you into more of a dopamine deficit. When it's time to sit down and do work again, it's going to be very difficult. This is what leads to procrastination, especially if you do the scrolling before you intend to do the deep work. So if you're a student, don't scroll and do all these things before you intend to do your homework. Do your homework as early in the morning as possible, or as soon as possible after your classes, after school. Save the addictive thing that you're trying to control for later, once you've done everything that you need to do. Second approach is that willpower is in constant supply, independent of time and effort. Think of willpower as a skill. When you have mastered a skill, you can access and use it at any time, and you can improve it further over time. If you know how to ride a bicycle, how to balance, pedal, and steer, you can perform these operations at any time. After a 1-mile bike ride or a 20-mile bike ride, your skill of riding a bicycle has not eroded. You may argue that 20 miles is going to make you more tired than 1 mile, and you are correct. But it is not a lack of skill that makes you tired. It is fatigue, the depletion of energy. So basically what it's saying is, sure, you can strengthen your willpower and you can improve it and become like a master, but you still need to rest. It can't go on. It's not limitless. If my willpower were a skill, it means that I could use it to stay focused during the boring company meeting instead of checking Instagram. And later, during the lunch break, I could still rely on my willpower to choose the salad entree instead of pizza. These are both bad choices. And if I applied willpower to order a salad or for lunch, I could still apply willpower when I return home from work to make a choice between doing laundry or adding for the sofa, TV, and potato chips. Using willpower throughout the day doesn't make it run low. I like how they sprinkle in the lies, even in unrelated articles. I mean, that just shows you how brainwashed we are. People immediately think of eating a salad when they want to be healthy. It's super unhealthy, no nutrition. The nutrition in salad and vegetables is for the vegetable. It's for the plant. It's not there to be consumed by us. A lot of it is not bioavailable. We don't even get any of it because they have anti-nutrients that bind to the things that we're trying to absorb. Anyway, not to get off topic, but I'm super passionate about misinformation and nutrition. It's very frustrating. And yeah, if you eat a salad for lunch, it's definitely not going to power you. It's not going to power your willpower. And you will crave potato chips and just laying on the sofa because you're exhausted, you're hungry. As before, we must make sure not to confuse being too tired to do laundry with being unable to resist the sofa option. When the pros and cons are weighed, not doing laundry could be a wise choice, not a sign of ill willpower. According to this theory, if willpower is a skill that we haven't developed well, it will in fact affect how we approach most goals, regardless of how much effort those earlier goals require. What is implied in both theories is that on many occasions during a typical day, we are faced with having to pursue multiple goals. We have to make choices. Do I work on the presentation or start preparing lunch? Do I check the text message I received on my phone or ignore it? Do I grab the ice cream from the freezer or sit still and continue watching the game? Ideally, you won't have ice cream in the freezer in the first place. But, if you have family members that have it in there like I do, if you have a second refrigerator, keep in the garage, keep it in that one. And try not to have food that you eat in the freezer too much. And if you do ask a family member to take it out to thaw, if you need to take something out to defrost, have them take it out. This leads us to new understanding of willpower. Willpower is the ability to prioritize one goal over another. Willpower is about building resistance to mindlessly choosing a goal that is familiar, easy, and comfortable. Making that choice can take as little as a split second or as long as hours, days, weeks, or years. Theory 1 suggests that we can't help but make poorer choices as the day goes on, and Theory 2 suggests that we can get better at making better choices. What do you think? Make a few good choices and then give in and indulge, or put more effort into continuing to make good choices. The choice is yours. They say that we make over 200 choices a day on food alone. And thousands a day in general, which is pretty wild. And it doesn't mean like the food choice being, oh, do I eat a hot dog or eat this? No, just they're very small micro choices that we make that we don't realize. And this drains our willpower, it drains our energy. And so the best tool I could say is to eat a real food diet. Try to eat as close to carnivore as possible. This will give you more energy. The body runs more efficiently on ketones, converting fat to ketones. It's great for our brain. Our brain needs a lot of fat. Our heart needs a lot of fat. Our body overall, all the cells need fat. So if you eat healthy and you take care of yourself, take care of your mind, you're not only giving yourself the energy you need for the willpower, but you're giving yourself the brain health, and you're equipping yourself with the ability to control your brain as much as possible. So you have both factors there. You have the benefit of the physical energy and the benefit of the mental clarity and the mental strength and control. So I hope this has been beneficial. Inshallah, it's willpower, again, is something short-term to achieve a new habit, to build new habits. We don't want to rely on it long-term. So, for example, if you're trying to develop a habit of going to the gym 3 days a week, it will require willpower in the beginning. But if you stick to it and you're consistent over time, there's some people that say 21 days, 60 days, however long it takes to develop a habit. It's different for everyone. But once it's established as a habit, you no longer need willpower. You just do it, like brushing your teeth or any other habits that you have that don't require you to really push yourself to do it. So inshallah, it's been beneficial. If it has, please share it with your family and friends. And let me know in the comments how you implement willpower. If you have some really good established habits, please share, let us all know. We're all here to learn from each other, inshallah. So yeah, subscribe, like, all the things. And inshallah, till next time, may Allah reward you for being curious and keep tying your camel. Assalamu alaikum.